when I walked into the server room and smelled lavender essential oil instead of the usual mix of burning electronics and quiet desperation. That was my first clue. The second was seeing my whiteboard where I normally mapped out infrastructure protocols covered in Brooks' vision board, complete with magazine cutouts of yoga retreats, baby llamas, and some quote about manifesting digital abundance. I've been at this for 22 years. I've restored classified systems with nothing but a multimeter and Army Corps stubbornness. I've watched grown men cry during security breach meetings, but this was an omen. My name's Roger Murphy. Friends call me Tank. I'm 47, widowed, supporting 2 college kids and an aging father who thinks the internet is still optional. Rachel's a junior at University of Colorado studying pre-med. Tuition runs about $65,000 a year, and that's before books and lab fees. Dylan's a freshman at Colorado State in electrical engineering, following the family tradition, and I smoke exactly 1 cigarette a year. On Veterans Day next to the backup generator I personally rebuilt during that power grid failure in 2021. My late wife Linda always said I'd outlive the machines I fixed, but cancer took her before she could see me prove her wrong. 3 years now, and I still check the thermostat twice before bed, old habit from when she'd complain about being cold during chemo. Some routines you keep because letting go feels like losing her twice. I don't do office politics. I don't do motivational speeches. I just keep 13 defense data centers from going dark and taking national security with them. For 4 years, I've been the circuit breaker and digital prayers holding Titan Defense Solutions together. And for 4 years, I've been invisible until Golden Boy showed up. Chase Blackstone, 29, MBA from Wharton, more trust fund than technical knowledge, son of the CEO, wearer of $1,200 sneakers, and proud speaker of phrases like synergizing our cyber defense paradigm with blockchain solution. He strutted into headquarters on a Monday morning like he just invented computers. Brought his influencer girlfriend Brooke too. She introduced herself with, "I'm really into digital wellness and mindful leadership," which I'm pretty sure means she's allergic to actual work. The moment Chase was appointed VP of Operations, I knew my deployment was ending. The whispers started immediately. He's bringing fresh energy. She's got a real eye for modern security. Tank's too analog. I once rebuilt our routing firmware using a Raspberry Pi and 6 hours of Red Bull-fueled focus while hostile actors were hammering our firewalls. But yeah, let's trust the woman who thinks RAID is something you spray for bugs and believes cryptocurrency can heal our digital chakras. The worst part wasn't the meetings I used to attend where I was the quiet professional in the corner, competent, reliable, caffeinated. Now I wasn't even invited. My security clearance mysteriously got under review, my tickets got reassigned to contractors who didn't know a firewall from a garden fence. Brooke started holding mindful workflow alignment sessions in my old office, burning sage over the backup tapes like she was cleansing evil spirits. She posted TikToks from the server room, calling it her tech sanctuary while actual classified equipment hummed in the background. HR said it was fine because she wasn't technically accessing anything, just sharing positive energy with our digital infrastructure, and still, I held the line. When Chase asked me for a security assessment, I gave him a 62-page operational risk report with color-coded threat maps, vendor contract timelines, and a red flag section labeled CR Brinical. Do not grant unauthorized access to classified systems without proper authentication protocols. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a Slack message that said, "Thanks, bro. Looks thorough. Love the colors." I printed backup copies and stored them in my desk, my truck, and mailed one to my personal P.O. box. In the Army Corps, we called it redundancy planning. In civilian life, they call it paranoia. I call it Tuesday, by the way. If you've made it this far without clicking away, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. Not just for me, but for every IT veteran eating lunch alone in the server room while keeping America's digital backbone running. It keeps the coffee flowing and these stories coming. Anyway, I knew the end was coming, so I got ready. First, I documented everything. I'm talking full network maps, security protocols, emergency procedures. I encrypted backups, flagged expiring contracts, printed hard copies of every vendor agreement, and uploaded my resignation letter to 3 separate secure drives. Not because I wanted to use it, but because I knew someone would force my hand. Then I did something Chase would never understand. I created a failsafe, not sabotage. That would violate everything I swore to protect when I took the oath, both military and civilian. Just a protocol. A system that recognized me as the architect. A system that, if misused, would slowly revoke access, degrade functionality, and trigger alert chains to vendors, legal, and eventually the board. Not out of malice, out of survival, because Titan Defense didn't just employ me, it ran on me. And the moment they forgot that, well, you don't pull the load-bearing beam and expect the building to stay up. The failsafe was buried deep in a security framework I'd written during a 72-hour lockdown when hostile actors were probing our defenses. It was designed as a dead man's switch. If the system detected unauthorized changes without proper authentication protocols, it would begin a systematic lockdown, not to destroy anything, but to protect classified data from incompetent handling. The legal foundation came from the 2019 Syrian generator incident. I was deployed with a joint task force when our backup power failed during a communications blackout. 12 good soldiers paid the price because someone cut corners on maintenance protocols. When I got back stateside, Howard Blackstone personally hired me to rebuild everything from scratch in that chaos. He'd signed off on an unusual security provision. 2.8% equity transfer per data center successfully secured and maintained over 36-month continuous cycle, activated upon wrongful termination without cause. The company's general counsel witnessed it, filed it with corporate records, and I walked away with more than just a paycheck. Buried in legal jargon, hidden in emergency authorization paperwork, but ironclad, 13 data centers times 2.8% equals 36.4% controlling interest. I'd earned it, protected it, maintained it for years. All legal, all documented, all waiting. Dad's assisted living bills were running $4,800 a month. Rachel's medical school applications needed another $15,000 in fees and prep courses. Dylan's engineering program was solid, but housing costs kept climbing. My veteran's pension helped, but it wasn't enough for 3 generations of Murphy men depending on one paycheck. Linda used to handle the family finances. She had a gift for stretching dollars and finding deals. Since she's been gone, I just work harder and worry more. The thermostat stays at 68 degrees exactly, not because I'm cold, but because it was her favorite temperature and some settings you don't change. By Friday, the whiteboard had a new addition. Brooke's server room makeover, healing crystals, and mood lighting. I stared at that note so long I almost developed a migraine. She'd actually written it in purple gel pen, dotted the is with hearts, and added a little drawing of what looked like a smiling router. I saved my final security report, made a local backup, and wrote one sentence at the bottom: if I'm not here Monday, see Exhibit A. Then I adjusted the main server room thermostat down 2 degrees. Not because the equipment needed it, but because sudden temperature changes would trigger diagnostic alerts that only I knew how to properly interpret. I didn't think I'd need any of it. I was wrong. Monday, 11:15 a.m. I was deep in a ticket about suspicious network activity, tracking potential intrusion attempts, like following enemy movement patterns I'd learned to recognize overseas when I got the ping. Hey Tank, can you swing by my office for a quick sync? That smiley face was the corporate equivalent of incoming artillery. I stared at the message, considered faking a security emergency involving federal compliance issues, then sighed, saved my work, and headed down the hall toward the glass office Chase called his innovation hub. The rest of us called it the fishbowl. He didn't look up when I walked in, just kept tapping his phone, probably checking his cryptocurrency portfolio. Brooke was perched on the conference table like a discount Bond villain, sipping something green from a mason jar that smelled like lawn clippings and false hope. She gave me a little wave and said, "Hey there, Tank. Love the flannel. Very authentic." I hadn't spoken more than 3 words to her, since she'd optimized our security documentation by deleting everything and replacing it with PowerPoint slides full of stock photos and motivational quotes. Her masterpiece was titled Cybersecurity: A Journey of Digital Trust and Positive Vibes. Take a seat, Chase said, gesturing vaguely without making eye contact. I didn't. In the Army Corps, you stand when receiving orders, especially when you suspect they're bad ones. He finally looked up, grinning like someone who just discovered his trust fund had a trust fund. So after a lot of strategic thinking and forward-looking analysis, he began. The buzzwords were oozing out of him like a broken pipeline. We've decided to restructure operations a bit. He paused to sip his artisanal coffee. Brooke's got a real vision for this stuff, and we think her approach aligns more with where Titan is heading. You know, less military rigidity, more organic collaboration. Another pause for dramatic effect. Your methods are, well, you know, legacy? We need someone who understands that cybersecurity isn't just about firewalls and protocols anymore. It's about energy, intention, digital wellness, legacy. Like my experience came with cobwebs and a musty smell. Like the Syrian generator failure that taught me never to trust critical systems to people who don't understand the weight of failure. I kept my voice flat, the way I used to report equipment status during hostile fire. She's not even cleared for basic access. Brooke blinked, her false eyelashes fluttering like dying moths. Clearance? That's like a rewards program, right? Do we get points? Chase laughed, actually laughed. It's not really about paperwork anymore, Tank. Government bureaucracy, you know? It's about energy, and her energy is exactly what we need to revolutionize our approach. For a second, I didn't say anything. The numbness crept in slow and cold like hypothermia during a winter operation. I'd predicted this, prepared for it, documented it in triplicate. But hearing him say it so casually, like I was outdated equipment he was junking, made something in my chest tighten like an overloaded circuit. He kept going, momentum building like a system cascade failure. Anyway, today's your last day. Effective immediately. HR's got your transition package ready. No hard feelings, right? This is just business evolution, no hard feelings. I looked at Brooke. She was scrolling through her phone, probably planning her next digital wellness in the workplace TikTok. Her bio claimed she was a certified crystal healer and blockchain lifestyle coach, which apparently qualified her to manage defense-grade cybersecurity. I turned back to Chase. "You have no idea what you've just done," I said quietly, my voice carrying the kind of calm that comes right before controlled demolition. He smiled wider, clearly thinking I was bluffing or having some kind of middle-aged breakdown. "Come on, Tank. Don't make this awkward. Change is hard, I get it, but this is really for the best." I reached into my back pocket, pulled out my badge, the one that had gotten me through more secure facilities than this kid had probably ever heard of, and laid it on his desk like placing a flag on a coffin. Gentle, no drama, no raised voice. 45 minutes, I said. He frowned, his confidence flickering for the first time. "What? You have 45 minutes before everything goes dark." "Tell your father I said good luck," Brooke snorted, not looking up from her phone. "Wait, is that like metaphorical darkness? Because I'm really into shadow work lately." I didn't answer. I just turned and walked out, feeling the ambient temperature drop as the server room's automatic systems registered my departure and began their pre-programmed sequence. The office felt different as I walked through it one last time. Not heavier, lighter, like cutting dead weight from an overloaded circuit. HR tried to intercept me on the way out. Some kid in an ill-fitting suit offered me a packet labeled transition resources and started rattling off Cobra benefits information. I took the packet without breaking stride and dropped it in the trash by the elevator. The kid's mouth fell open like I'd just committed some corporate sin. Back at my desk, I unplugged my personal tablet, slipped it into my bag alongside the printed backup reports I'd been keeping for months. I didn't delete anything because nothing needed deleting. Every warning I'd given them was documented. Every alert I'd configured was armed. Every fuse was lit. By the time I hit the lobby, I was already getting texts, one from Tessa in payroll. "Can't access anything. Did you change permissions?" One from our European data center, vendor contract showing as voided. "What's happening? Please advise ASAP." Then a Slack from Chase himself, all pretense of corporate cool evaporating. Weird error on the admin dashboard. System asking for authentication I don't recognize. "You still around?" I turned off notifications and walked toward the parking garage. Wade, the night security guard pulling a double shift, barely glanced up as I passed his station. We'd shared enough late-night vending machine battles and microwave territory wars that words weren't necessary. He just nodded, one veteran to another, understanding something in my expression. "Stay safe, brother," he said quietly. "Always do," I replied. "Keep the lights on. No alarms, no badge confiscation ceremony, no awkward goodbye potluck. Just me walking out, calm and quiet, like I hadn't just activated the first domino in a sequence that would bring down everything Chase thought he understood about running a defense contractor. I pushed through the front doors into bright Colorado sunshine. Behind me, through the tinted glass, I caught a glimpse of Brooke hunched over the admin console, dragging interface elements around like Pinterest widgets while Chase paced behind her, phone pressed to his ear. Her coffee cup still said CEO of Good Vibes. She was toggling settings she didn't understand, rewriting security permissions like updating her Instagram bio. Somewhere deep in that network infrastructure, the system had just logged its first unauthorized change under her credentials. The countdown had begun. I didn't drive away immediately, just stood there breathing mountain air, the kind of deep breath that lives between relief and anticipation. I was technically unemployed but functionally free, and I wasn't done, not by a long shot. My phone buzzed. Text from Murphy O'Brien, our third-party backup vendor. They just revoked the primary license. That triggers Cascade Protocol in 6 hours. You still there? The license Murphy mentioned was a critical fail-safe key designed to cascade through multiple security checkpoints. It was buried in a framework I'd written during a 72-hour lockdown when the CEO was overseas and hostile actors were probing our defenses. I'd warned them in January, March, June, and again in September. Revoke that license without proper staging protocols, and the system would start eating itself from the inside out like a feedback loop in an overloaded amplifier. I replied with a single emoji checkmark, then muted the thread. In my Silverado was an old tablet loaded with cached admin logs, offline disconnected but still watching through cached mirrors I'd set up months ago. Perfectly legal diagnostic tools, nothing more. I powered it on and flicked through recent alerts. 2 minor errors already. Dallas node showing amber. Newark node cycling. Nothing catastrophic yet, just tremors. But the cascade was coming with the inevitability of a controlled demolition. Chase, meanwhile, was lighting up Slack like a victory parade. Screenshots were floating around of his message to the leadership channel. Cleaning house. Out with old school tech debt. In with new blood. Let's revolutionize this industry. Someone responded with a fire emoji. Bro, Tank was like the system whisperer. Came another reply from someone in marketing who'd probably never seen a server room. Chase responded. Nah, he was just stuck in the past. We've got Brooke now. Streamlined, intuitive, scalable. She's already identifying optimization opportunities he never saw. I almost laughed. This man thought throwing jargon at failing infrastructure was strategy. He thought a woman who filmed TikTok dances in server rooms could manage defense-grade cybersecurity for contracts worth more than some countries' GDP. But this wasn't about them anymore. This was about me. My code, my protocols, my logic. They were woven into the DNA of Titan Defense like load-bearing cables in a suspension bridge. I'd written security modules under fluorescent lights at 3 a.m. while Linda was asleep upstairs. I'd patched vulnerabilities while Brooke was probably deep in a kombucha coma, dreaming of her next wellness seminar. I didn't just maintain that system, I became it. And when you rip out the central processing unit without checking for backup circulation, you don't get a clean reboot. You get cascading failure and expensive silence. By the time I got home to my small apartment, chosen for proximity to base and budget friendliness for supporting 3 generations of Murphy men, another alert had appeared on the tablet. Missing endpoint tokens. Brooke probably deleted them during her interface optimization, thinking they were digital clutter disrupting the feng shui of her workspace. Chase probably high-fived her afterward and posted about it on LinkedIn. Let them celebrate. I heated up leftover chili, poured a beer, and opened a private console. One folder sat there untouched. Failsafe, to Murphy init, log status, armed latent themide, passive. They hadn't disabled it. They didn't know it existed. The first real crack showed up in Portland at 23 a.m. their time. Tier 3 redundancy node hiccuped just long enough to trigger a false positive outage report. Brooke, in her infinite wisdom, had silenced those alerts earlier because they were disrupting her creative flow, her exact words according to a screenshot that mysteriously appeared in my Signal inbox from someone still inside the building. Do we need these red flashy things? They're really harshing my zen. Can we make them like soft blue instead? Blue is more calming. By sunrise, 6 dashboards were showing scrambled data. One ticketing system froze on a request for printer paper, displaying an endless loading animation. Engineers started communicating via email like it was 2003, asking each other if the internet was broken because internal chat systems were timing out. Slack became chaos. Brooke was posting GIFs of meditation bowls and typing messages like sending positive energy to our servers. They just need some digital love. Chase was frantically drafting an email titled Transparency and Transition. Welcome to the new era, while fielding increasingly panicked calls from project managers. And I was elbow deep in a plate of diner pancakes at Murphy's No Relation, watching the slow motion collapse on my jailbroken tablet, like a general monitoring a battle from a safe distance. The waitress, a woman named Betty who'd probably seen every kind of human drama play out over coffee and eggs, poured burnt coffee and said, "You look like someone who just won the lottery." "Close," I muttered, checking the ambient temperature reading from the main server room. I just resigned from one. The logs kept ticking like a countdown timer. Memory spikes, access errors, timeout failures, authentication loops. This wasn't sabotage, that's what everyone gets wrong when they hear stories like this. I didn't hack anything, didn't touch code after walking out, didn't plant logic bombs or backdoors. All I'd done was stop. I revoked my own access. Let the licenses I personally managed expire on schedule, allowed the protections I'd babied for years to run their natural course, unchecked, unwatched, unmanaged, like leaving a nuclear reactor without qualified operators, because the new management thought physics was too analog and preferred intuitive energy solutions. At 10:47 a.m., Brooke attempted to log into Terminal 5, the central interface for vendor coordination and license management. The system denied her with a blinking warning that filled the screen, access restricted, privileges revoked, to Murphy Kajarity 0-44F. Contact system architect for Ovgrode Octorgization. She took a selfie in front of the error message. Caption, OMG, what does this even mean? Like, why is technology so complicated? Glitch Queen Nura Titan Defense needing help. The post got 847 likes and 312 comments, mostly people asking why she was posting from what looked like a government facility and whether those blinking lights behind her were supposed to be red. By noon, it had officially flagged the issues as network latency and possible vendor miscommunication, which was corporate speak for we have no idea what's happening but we're hoping it fixes itself. Chase ignored the reports entirely, too busy rehearsing a live stream where he'd showcase the dynamic new ops team and introduce Brooke as their digital wellness catalyst and cybersecurity innovation specialist. The live stream was scheduled for 3 p.m. He'd sent calendar invites to major defense contractors and government liaisons. The subject line read, Titan Defense 2.0, Revolutionary Security Through Mindful Technology. Then it happened. The countdown timer appeared. I wasn't expecting that specific feature. Not yet. I'd embedded the protocol years ago as a passive safety measure, activated only when multiple failure conditions stacked in sequence like dominoes, credential mismatch, pathway failure, unauthorized access attempts, expired vendor synchronization, and temperature fluctuations in critical hardware zones. 12:18 p.m. The tablet pinged softly. New log entry. Failsafe protocol T. Murphy initiated. Cascade prevention mode activated. Time remaining 11 to 57:04. No alarms, no sirens, just red text blinking like a digital heartbeat, counting down to total system isolation. The countdown had begun. This didn't mean explosions. It meant total system lockdown. Titan's infrastructure would begin isolating compromised modules, revoking external access points, and most critically locking doors to anyone without my original encryption signature. Titan Defense was about to learn what it meant to be cut off from itself. I sat there, fork frozen mid-bite, syrup dripping. Even I hadn't expected the tripwire to activate this fast. The system was more protective of itself than I'd programmed it to be. Betty refilled my cup. You okay, hun? I looked at the screen, at the blinking numbers, at logs updating like a cardiac monitor sliding toward flatline. Yeah, I said slowly, just watching bad decisions come home to roost. By 8:52 the next morning, Titan Defense Systems was in full crisis mode. Not the organized kind with clear leadership and decisive action. More like chickens with their heads cut off if the chickens were wearing designer hoodies and demanding quarterly growth projections while bleeding all over the boardroom. I had logs open on 3 devices now, the tablet, my laptop, and an old Android phone from my paranoid contractor days. Every terminal was screaming variations of the same thing: systems compromised, documentation missing, access denied, failovers failing to fail over. In London, a DevOps contractor sent a frantic email about critical handoff procedures for European defense contracts. His message, riddled with typos, said, Need urgent credential tree for UK node authentication. All backup tokens invalid. Chase says, check shared drive. Nothing there. Tank not responding. Help. There was nothing to help with. I'd removed the last trace of that credential tree 6 months ago after seeing Chase grant Brooke administrative access like it was a VIP pass to a music festival. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Chase stood in the middle of the operations floor like a general who'd lost his map, insisting that a full system refresh would solve everything. Just reset the admin stack. He told someone over Zoom. We'll resync from Brooke's profile. She's got the new workflow paradigm documented in her vision board. Brooke, bless her caffeinated heart, posted a TikTok mid-crisis, spinning in the darkened server room while emergency lighting flickered behind her. Caption: When your data vibes are off but your outfit still slaps new aura, Titan Defense glitchy but cute server room fashion. Someone commented, Why are all your systems down though? Are you guys getting hacked? Another, is this a real company? This looks like a movie set. The post had 47,000 views and climbing. The Defense Department's social media monitoring team had probably flagged it by now. Internally, 12 dashboards were flatlined. Payroll couldn't access routing numbers. Marketing was still running ads for Chase's livestream reveal, now postponed indefinitely. The building's HVAC system was cycling erratically, making the server rooms too hot and the offices too cold. That's when my phone buzzed. Blocked number, but I knew who it was. I let it ring die. He tried again. Third time I answered. Didn't speak, just breathed. Chase's voice came through, clipped, but trying for casual. Hey Tank. Quick thing. We're seeing some weird back-end stuff, and I was thinking, haha, maybe you could pop in real quick. Just for clarity, totally chill consultation. Name your rate. I hung up. The truth is I hadn't wanted chaos. Despite everything, the disrespect, the dismissal, the way they tossed me aside like obsolete hardware, I never wanted Titan to burn. I'd built that system piece by piece, protected it like my own children, like Rachel and Dylan's future depended on it, which it did. But now it was a ghost ship, and they were steering blindfolded while live streaming the voyage. So I did something I hadn't planned. I opened a private browser tab, no cookies, no VPN, no trace, and sent one anonymous email. Subject: time sensitive, systems access and legal exposure to. Titan Defense Systems Board of Directors, internal distribution list, per internal security liability clause, section 7.4. Any compromise of infrastructure resulting from personnel changes not approved by original architect constitutes breach of contract and voids all indemnity protections. This clause was added following the 2019 Syrian incident. All architecture in question was constructed, maintained, and secured solely under T. Murphy clearance. Please refer to Internal Audit Chain, TDS TMB 09422 for compliance verification. ETA to critical system lockdown, less than 4 hours. You may still have time, you may not. I signed it TM closed browser deleted device profile, adjusted my thermostat to Linda's favorite setting, and sat breathing. Not triumphant, not vindicated, just tired of screaming into the void, filing reports no one read, patching holes no one saw, carrying weight no one understood. The board email hit like a defibrillator shock to a dying heart. Howard Blackstone touched down at Denver International just after 3 a.m., bypassed his usual entourage, and stormed through headquarters like a man walking into his own funeral. His personal laptop showed 13 red dots where green lights used to be. The master override displayed a single message: system designed by T. Murphy. Revocable upon misuse. Howard didn't scream, he just closed the laptop and said 2 words that froze the entire floor: find him. The email came at 3:17 a.m. No subject, no signature, just you're needed. 9 a.m. boardroom. I showed up at 8:58 a.m. No suit, no power tie, just boots, jeans, and yesterday's flannel. Hair finger-combed, face set like granite, the boardroom was full when I entered. Howard stood at the head, arms crossed. Chase sat 3 seats down, pale and jittery. Brooke was notably absent. Rumor was she'd triggered the fire suppression system and locked herself in a supply closet. Tank. Chase started, "Look, I think we should." "Sit down, Chase. Don't speak." Howard's voice could have cut steel. I stepped to the opposite end of the table. Pulled out my tablet, entered 4 characters, my original access code. On the wall display, 13 red dots blinked once, then turned green. One by one, like a city coming back to life after a blackout. "You never sabotaged anything," Howard said quietly. "No, sir, I just removed myself." He nodded slowly. "And you waited," I shrugged. "Systems run their course." Howard turned to his son. "You're not VP anymore, but Dad, you're done." Chase slumped like someone had unplugged his power supply. I didn't smile, just tapped the tablet once more and locked the screen. "Everything's stable, but I recommend auditing vendor contracts. Your consultant invalidated half of them trying to optimize the interface with mood ring technology." "Stay," Howard said. "We'll restructure everything around you, officially permanently." I reached into my bag one final time. Single sheet of paper, crisp and official. I slid it across the polished table. "This is your original contract," Howard said, squinting. "Addendum 12. From the 219 Syrian incident, emergency authorization clause, 0.28% equity transfer per data center successfully secured and maintained over 36-month continuous cycle. Activated upon wrongful termination without cause." His eyes widened. 13 centers times 2.8%, 36.4% controlling interest. All documented, all legal, all mine. The room went silent except for Chase making a sound like a deflating balloon. I looked at him one final time. "Your girlfriend's sweet, she'd do great in retail. Or wellness coaching." "Anything but cybersecurity." Howard stared at the contract, then at me. "Mr. Murphy, welcome to the executive board." I picked up my tablet, headed for the door. Outside, Brooke stood by her Tesla, mascara running. Chase paced beside her, phone pressed to his ear. "Just get me someone who knows what they're doing. This can't be legal." But it was, and I did. A company SUV pulled up. Mine now. As we drove away, I didn't look back. All 13 data centers were green. Rachel's medical school tuition was secure at $65,000 per year. Dylan's engineering program was covered. Dad's assisted living costs were handled. The thermostat in my new corner office would stay at exactly 68 degrees. Some settings you keep forever. Listen, I'm telling you this story not because I'm proud of what happened, but because it didn't have to happen at all. Every IT professional over 45 knows exactly how this feels. You've built the systems that keep things running, trained the people who replaced you, documented everything twice, and watched younger managers dismiss your experience as legacy thinking. Here's what they don't teach in business school. Competence isn't obsolete just because it's been around for a while. Experience isn't dead weight, and the person who built your foundation probably knows a few things about keeping it from cracking. Stay sharp out there, keep your documentation current. And remember, in a world full of Chases and Brooks, be the person who actually knows where the power switch is. Thanks for listening.